You know, I would have bet every dime, every penny, almost everything, almost all of my money that I would have said that this movie would have been okay, or I would have said that it's just not for me, that I understand why people like it. I would have bet every dollar that I owned on that, and I would have lost. Hey guys, how is everybody doing? Dune Part 2 is in theaters this weekend, which actually came out today, but I have to check it out tomorrow because things happen, but it's okay. So, I'm a little late on reviewing this movie, but again, it's okay. Things happen. So, here are my thoughts on Dune Part 1, or just Dune. To set the stage for this movie, back when this movie first came out, it was very popular. It came out during 2021, which was the year to where COVID was finally dying out, to where people were still cautious, but it was safer than it was. And then during like the months of like September through December, that was the months to where they were just shoving movies into theaters all like every weekend. You got movies like No Time to Die, Venom Let There Be Carnage, Halloween Kills. You got all those movies coming out within just 3 weeks from each other. I believe this movie came out in November too. And the last few months of 2021 were absolutely stacked with movies. But I remember when this movie was coming out that I had no interest in it. Trailers did not really catch my attention. That I just honestly thought this movie just wouldn't be for me. But then reviews came out. People were saying that this movie was actually great. This is one of the best movies of the year. I highly recommend it to everybody, even as an average moviegoer. But I still have not checked it out. Even when it came out on Blu-ray, I still never checked it out. Almost 3 years later, after this movie came out, I have still never seen it until Thursday. But I'm here to tell you right now, like I said at the beginning, I would have bet every dollar that I own that I would have said this movie was fine or it wasn't for me. But oh my god, this is one of the best movies I have ever seen. Starting off with my positives on Dune Part 1, and it's one of my favorite things about this movie, and that is the cast of this movie. You have a huge, stacked cast here. You got Zendaya, Timothy Chalamet, Jason Momoa, Oscar Isaac. You got Batista here in a few scenes here and there. Like, there's so many great names in here, great actors that I seriously can't even list them all. You also got the girl who played Rose the Hat in Doctor Sleep that came out actually a few years ago. This has a stacked cast, and I think the entire cast did absolutely great, especially Oscar Isaac, which is no surprise. He's a great actor. He's one of the best actors of this generation, in my opinion. And I would honestly argue that this is probably his best physical performance because I honestly think his best performance is as Miguel O'Hara in Across the Spider Verse. I honestly think this might be his best physical performance. And Timothy Chalamet, man, oh my God, that guy, he is going to be an Oscar winner one day. He is going to make a movie that is going to win him a Best Leading Actor one day. I can see that guy because Timothy Chalamet, almost everything that guy is in, like we got Wonka just back in December, he was great in that. Zendaya, we don't really get to see her much in this movie, but I think we get to see her more in part two, but I have no idea yet. But yeah, cast, it's absolutely phenomenal, and they all play their part great. So this is something that I really had a huge issue with with the 1984 version of Dune. I'm sorry that if I compare this movie too much to the 84 version, this is not a remake of it or anything. It's just a adaptation of the novel. So I'm gonna try my best not to compare it to the 84 version as if it were a remake, but I'll try to do that. But I might end up keep doing it, so I apologize and ongoing, but the CGI and effects of this movie, like holy shit, dude! Like there is no question on why this movie won an Oscar that year for best special effects because holy shit, has some of the best effects that I've ever seen in a movie. Like the whole scene to where Timothy Chalamet, Oscar Isaac's characters, Paul, and whatever his dad's name was, to where they're going on a mission for the spice, again with the spice shit, and to where like, the big sandworm is coming after them, and just by the look of the desert too, and some of those shots, it's like, holy shit, that is beautiful. And then you got the whole big sandworm coming after them, and they're like trying to save these people because like these people are like on a mission, but they're like when the sandworm comes, this like big machine has to go on top of it and lift it up and carry them away so the sandworm doesn't eat them or kill them. But that whole scene to where the sandworm, when you see it come up and like swallow down the ship after everyone's safe, it's like, whoa. Like, I was speechless during that entire scene to where I was watching going, holy shit, dude. Like I was seriously stunned of how beautiful it was, especially the scene where you see the sandworm come out of the sand and kind of like look down at Timothy Chalamet, like Paul. Or what was is it Paulie or Paul? I'm pretty sure it was Paul his name was in this movie where sandworm comes down, it comes up and he looks at Paul. It's like, oh my god, that shit is beautiful. Like there's no question in my mind on why this movie won Best Special Effects that year, because deservingly so, because this has some of the best CGI I've ever seen in my life. Something I never really talk about on my channel, or something that I don't really talk about when I review movies, but the sound design of this movie is like, it's amazing. With special effects, which kind of plays a part with this. Like, the sound effects really play a part with the CGI during this entire movie, and it shows like something just really small in this movie that I really like is when it comes to like the big, like the ships that they're in, like these weird, like dragonfly looking things, or they have like wings. Like the sound of that thing, it's like amazing. I'm a huge fan of like big sound designs, but I don't really talk about them much because I don't want to sound like a weird, like a weirdo talking about movies. But when it comes to sound design, I think this has some of the best sound design I have ever heard in my life. Like something like World at War or something like that. What was that Steven Spielberg movie with Tom Cruise? I forget its name. But like some of the sound design in that movie is fantastic. Like some of the, like hearing the sandworm and shit like that, the noises that thing makes, it's like whoa. Like I'm a huge whore for that. Like it's just amazing. Like, I don't know what else I need to tell you. Just watch the damn movie already. What? Have I not sold you? The thing that I really loved about this movie was the music. Now the 84 version didn't have much music. Again, I'm gonna try my best not to compare it, but the music in this movie is like holy shit. Like my favorite scene when it comes to the music, and this was the scene that got me to be like, okay, this movie is fucking awesome. And it was only like a half hour into the movie too, to where they do the hand, like they do the right hand thing to where you put your hand in the box and then it's like testing your will to see if you pull it out or not, and it like causes your hand to feel like great pain. And like the music during that, like during it when Timothy Chalamet's character Paul, like he has his hand in there, he's like freaking out, but then he looks up and he's like angry at it, but then the huge music just comes up, like the hey ah thing, whatever it was called, whatever the title of it is. It's like, whoa, that was the scene of this movie that got me to love it. The second that scene happened, I was like, okay, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my lifetime. And so the music in that scene alone is beautiful, and the music throughout the rest of the movie is great, especially during the action scenes of this movie, which I'll talk about later. They're fantastic. I absolutely love the music in this movie. It was beautiful, like especially during the end of the movie, like the ha thing going on, like that was beautiful. Some of the music in this movie was just great to where it just got me just staring at the screen going, "Oh my god, this is beautiful." Like, "Oh my god, I just loved it." Going along with like special effects wise and music wise and all that, the cinematography in this movie is like amazing. Like I'm trying my best to like say something that I haven't repeated because I sound like a broken record saying that it's beautiful and all that, but it truly is. The cinematography in this movie is just at its best, especially the scenes when they're like flying around and like they're flying around the desert and all that when they're running in the desert. Like some of the cinematography there is absolutely beautiful. Like when you see the sandworm for the first time, that's beautiful. And when the the villains like attack like all the heroes of the movie and all that when they're attacking each other, like the cinematography there is great. Like I'm trying my best not to sound like a broken record, but it's hard when I all I could say is that it was amazing. It was beautiful and like have I not sold you on this movie yet? Now, for my final positives, I think the action in this movie was great. Again, with the sandworm scene where Timothy Chalamet, Paul, he's holding on to the. Oh yeah, you also got Thanos in this movie. I forgot to say that during the cast. You got the guy who plays Thanos in this movie, which I thought it was great here too. He's holding on to him. You just see the worm and all that, and my like the scene where all the villains attack and the doctor of this movie, who's Paul's doctor who checks up on him like when he betrays them and all that, and everybody comes in and attacks. Like that whole scene was awesome. And then when you get Jason Momoa fighting like the people in the hallway, like God, what's the one movie not movie like the Daredevil fight scene in season one? Like that was a pretty cool scene. The action in this movie is great, and I didn't expect it to have much action. I just more expected it to be a cool sci-fi adventure movie, but it wasn't really that. It also had like great action. It had good fight scenes in it too, which I didn't expect, which is, you know, when I talked about the 84 version, I said that it gave me too much like Star Wars. This movie kind of was like that, but it worked here in this version because this movie, you can tell it's inspired by Star Wars, but at the same time, it kind of does its own thing, which the 84 version didn't really do. Going on to my negatives, and this is a very, very small negative, and it doesn't kill my enjoyment from this movie, but it's just a small little negative, is that you can really tell this movie truly is a part one, that it just feels like a movie that's just set up. You can tell that this movie's a part one, and they set up so much in this movie that you're really excited to see, but you had to wait 3 years, 4 years to see the final outcome of the movie, which I didn't have to wait too long because I get to see part two soon, and I didn't watch this movie when it first came out, which I probably would have been mad if I did. But yeah, you can just tell that it is like Dave Bautista as the villain in this movie. I was really excited to see him, but you barely get to see him. You can tell that's set up. And Paul and the Zendaya character, you could tell that the shit going on with those two was all set up with Paul having all these dreams about her and all this shit going on. But you can just really tell that this is a part one, and in some aspects it feels a little slow because it's setting up so much, which, a lot of people say this movie is really slow, but I thought it was okay paced. Like, I wasn't bored watching the movie, but you could tell that it was slow paced, trying to set things up, which it didn't bother me too much, but it was very noticeable. But yeah, that it's knowing the fact that you're only negative with your movie is that you could just tell that it's all set up. That's saying a lot because this movie was amazing. I truly love this movie, and the only negative I had with this movie is that it was just all set up. That's all I had. All in all, guys, Dune Part 1 is a fantastic movie. It's I would argue it's one of the best movies ever made now because I need to rewatch it a few more times to say that, but I truly love this movie. I cannot wait to see part two because I understand the hype for part two now after I'm late to the party with this one. But yeah, this is truly a great movie. But even if you're gonna watch this movie, don't expect it to be great. I really hope I didn't oversell it for you, and I don't want you to go in with huge high expectations and then have it ruined for you because I really set it up for you. So go in with modern expectations. Just go kind of scale down your expectations because I don't want to oversell it for you. But please do check this movie out. Even if you're a Dune fan, you need to check this movie out because as just an average moviegoer, I loved it, but I think Dune fans will love this movie. And if you're a fan of like Star Wars and kind of Lord of the Rings type movies, this movie will definitely be for you. So do check this movie out if you are just an average moviegoer. I think you'll love this. And as a Dune fan, you need to check this movie out because I think a lot of Dune fans will like it. So please check this movie out. It's an absolutely fantastic movie. It's a beautiful movie. Please check this movie out. What do you guys think of Dune Part 1? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Do you prefer the 84 version of Dune? Let me know in the comments below and we will talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, I'll see you all next time.